Hello, it's Lord Slar here, and welcome back to Reappraisal, where we look at the 10 lowest rated Doctor Who stories in the 2013 Doctor Who magazine poll and see if they really deserve their reputation. This time we have a mainstay of the bottom 10 over the years, one which always seems to be hated by the fans, the Dominators. I can definitely see why this one is here more than the last couple of stories. It's a bit long, it isn't particularly original, and the commentary on the pacifist movement is a bit mean-spirited. However, to that I say, it's bloody great fun anyway. I'm starting to notice something perhaps problematic about these videos, in that for the most part I'm saying that an episode isn't bad because it's fun, and loads of stories are way worse, despite that that's just my opinion. But on the same note, I do feel there are plenty of stories that do damage to characters and lore on top of being bad stories, which get away with it more than harmless bits of fluff like this one. Anyway, with that caveat out the way, let's get into the Dominators. Again, we should start with what is good. The TARDIS team is brilliant in this one. It's only Zoe's second story, but she's already really likeable and fitting in with the TARDIS team perfectly. Of course, the second Doctor and Jamie are amazing as always, and in my opinion they have a lot of their best moments in Season 6 as their rapport has really matured by this point, which makes every moment with them a joy to watch, and they can prop up even lackluster stories like this one. In particular, I love the scene in the Dominator ship where they're pretending to be stupid. It's incredibly funny and a classic scene in Doctor Who. That alone raises it above plenty of dire stories which don't even have a great moment like that to make up for their shortcomings. The incidental characters are quite good in this one too. Personally, I find Cully and the two Dominators, Rago and Toba, to be very memorable and quite fun to watch. The conflict which goes on between the two Dominators is good too. It serves to add a little bit of extra drama to keep me interested, as well as actually make the Dominators seem interesting enough to perhaps even be brought back in, say, a big finish at some point. My only complaint about it would be that it doesn't really reach a satisfying conclusion, with Toba backing down when directly threatened with death. I think it would have been much more interesting had the whole thing boiled over and have, say, one of them kill each other in episode 5 before their ship left. Of course, if you're going to talk about this story, you need to discuss the Quarks. If you didn't know, they were actually first conceptualised as a potential replacement for the Daleks, which naturally they aren't, and I consider it to be a fundamental misunderstanding of why the Daleks were so successful that they thought the Quarks could be a good replacement. By that I mean the Daleks weren't just popular because of a cool design, it's because they weren't just robots. They had a great backstory and a reason as to why they were the way they were. However, to dislike the Quarks would be mean beyond the realms of acceptability, as they're just so much damned fun, not to mention very cute. If you aren't having fun every time you see one waddle about, ask yourself, were you hugged enough as a child? Plus the design is pretty cool too. Now on to some of the more negative aspects of the story. First of all, the acting. The Dominators and the TARDIS crew are great, but for the Dulcians they seem to have found some of the most amateurish actors on the planet, which is unacceptable considering the high quality of acting seen throughout the rest of Season 6, with the exception of perhaps the Crotons. Second of all, not much really goes on within the story. It's a very basic plot and concept stretched over 5 episodes, and thank God it's not 6 like originally intended. Sure, a lot of inter-character drama keeps it going, and even interesting at points, but these characters simply aren't good enough to justify the way the story was written. It's a big problem which can often leave stretches of the story feeling a bit barren of entertainment. Furthermore, we have to discuss the commentary on the pacifist movement. Obviously in the 60s it was in full swing and was the original inspiration for the story. I feel this subject matter was already really well handled in the Daleks, where it was even-handed and was made more poignant by the fact it was set after a nuclear apocalypse. Here though, it just comes off as a bit mean-spirited, as it just characterises pacifism as people who just want to sit around all day, endlessly talking, doing nothing and not having an inquiring mind, which just isn't an accurate representation of the movement in my view. Unlike in the Daleks, there's no effort to see it from their perspective. Perhaps this could have been added in if the stimuli for the Douglas becoming pacifistic was a horrible war, and they showed the horrors of said war in the episode, but it doesn't do that, and it actually comes across as more of a dismissal of pacifism than a commentary on it. To conclude, despite some of its shortcomings which definitely prevent it from being considered a good Doctor Who story, The Dominators is a ton of fun. Personally, I find it great fodder for a lazy afternoon. It passes the time amply, and I always come out of it watching it having enjoyed myself. Again, considering some of the downright awful Doctor Who stories I've had over the years, I don't get why people are so against this harmless piece of fluff. There's definitely plenty more deserving of a bottom 10 spot. I shall be giving the Dominators a reappraisal. Go give it another go and don't take it seriously for 1 second of watching it. In case you're wondering, there are episodes on the reappraisal list that I won't be reappraising. It just so happens I think these first 3 have perhaps been treated unfairly by being in the bottom 10. Anyhow, that's it for now, and I'll see you back next time in another video.